being filmed.
All right.
Oh, I guess I'll press this one too.
Okay, you can press that one also.
Say hello to our alumni.
Hello, all alumni. This is quite a strange experience. Okay, speaking of strange experiences and strange halachas, we have one coming up which is beyond strange. The halacha of getting drunk on Purim. Now, what we're going to do is, MidMo just asked, is it a halacha? And that's an interesting question. We're going to see inside whether exactly it's halacha or not halacha, and where does it come from. But everybody asks the same question. The Aruch HaShulchan asks it, the Bir Halacha asks it. They ask the following question. V'adavar, you don't have it. V'adamar matmiya, di'im kein tzarich liot etc. Let's see. It says, take a look at source number 7. V'im tomar hayech yichayvu chazal masha niskar b'torah b'neviim b'kam m'komo d'ashichros l'michshol gadol. How could Chazal obligate you to drink on Purim when we know in the Torah that drunkenness is something which leads to so many bad things? The Aruch HaShulchan brings up the case of Lot and his daughters. How can the Torah be mechayiv you, or how can Chazal be mechayiv you to basically drink on Purim? And is it a chiyuv? Is it not a chiyuv? Are there any conditions? And what is the purpose? So what we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at the halachic background to it. We're going to take a look a little bit about the later achronim, the later opinions about it, and then at the end we'll figure out at least one opinion about what were Chazal thinking when they established this whole idea. So the source for this whole thing is in source number 1, which is in Megillah Daf Zayin Amud Bet. The Gemara says like this: I'm a Rava. Mechayiv inish levesume bepuraya ad lo yada ben arur haman lebaruch Mordechai. It's a common thing. You'll see people and you'll hear people singing it on Purim. They're actually singing Gemara, right? You never heard it? Trust me. You're in Yerushalayim, you're at Kodesh. You're going to be here on Purim. You will hear it. It's a refrain which goes around with a lot of bottles of alcohol. And what happens is the following. What does it mean? It means that a person is obligated levesume on Purim. What's levesume? Lavsume, Rashi says, leishtakir b'yayin. You have to get drunk on wine until you don't know the difference between Arur Haman and Baruch Mordechai. You have to get drunk on wine until you don't know the difference between Arur Haman and Baruch Mordechai. Girls, Baruch Hashem, none of you have ever drunk any alcohol, hopefully, maybe a little bit of Kiddush wine, but the reality is what? The reality is you can't even imagine how much you actually have to drink to not know the difference between what? Between Arur Haman and Baruch Mordechai. It's not a little bit. We'll talk about the different opinions, but it's a lot of drinking. That's the Gemara. The Gemara says you have to get drunk until you don't know the difference between those two opinions, right? Those two things. The Gemara continues with a story. Rabba v'Rav Zera abdu suda Purim b'hadei yadade. Rabba and Rav Zera do a Purim Suda together. Very nice. It's very nice, comfortable doing a Purim Suda together. It's not your average Purim Suda. For the next story, right? Ivsum, they got drunk. Rabba and Rav Zera got drunk. They were following the halacha. Kam Rabba v'shachte l'Rav Zera. What does that mean? I saw Eliana's eye. What happened? Rabba got up, and while he was drunk, what did he do? He killed Rav Zera. It's not your average Purim Suda now, right? This doesn't happen in your average Purim Suda. L'machar bay rachmin. The next day, the hangover's over, wakes up, and what happens? He bay rachmin, saw that Rav Zera was dead. He asked for rachamim, he davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'achei. And what happened? Tchiyana meitim. And Rav Zera was alive again. L'shana, the next year, Amar lei, nitei mar v'nevad suda Purim b'adadei adadei. So Rabba calls up Rav Zera on the phone and says, Rav Zera, you want to come to my house for a Purim Suda like we did last year? What's Rav Zera's response? Amar lei, lo b'chol shaita v'shaita mitrachi shnita. Not every hour does a nace occur. What is Rav Zera worried about? He's worried about getting killed again and basically the nace not happening. Now the story is a very, very bizarre story. Some people take it totally as a mashal, that it didn't happen, you didn't really kill him, etc., etc., etc. Some people take it as true. That's the basis, this Gemara is the basis of drinking on Purim. Now, what does it mean ad lo yada? We're doing this very quickly. Not only are we being taped, but basically this is a lunch here. So what does it mean ad lo yada? That is a large machloket. What does it mean ad lo yada? There are a number of opinions how you mekayim it. Some people say all you have to do is keep going Baruch Mordechai Arur Haman, Baruch Mordechai Arur Haman. You could probably, a guy could drink a whole bottle of vodka and basically keep saying Baruch Mordechai or Haman, right? So there are other opinions. Tosot says that's not true. It's a whole line you have to say Baruch Mordechai or Haman or Zeresh, Baruch Esther, Brucha Esther, etc. That's one opinion. There's another opinion that's brought down by the Abudraham that there used to be a poem about Mordechai and Haman. And what would they have to do? They would have to recite the whole poem. Now, reciting a whole poem when you're drunk is not so easy, right? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day, though more lovely and more temperate, which is from where? Oh, very little crowd. Good. It's not so easy to do what? It's not so easy to recite when you are drunk. There's another opinion which says what? Rabbeinu Yerucham says the gematrias, and this is worked out, by the way. A student of mine sat there and did it. Arur Haman and Baruch Mordechai are both, I think, 502 in gematria. So what do you have to do? You have to you have to count up the gematrias, basically, and see that the gematrias work. Now, it happens to be that what? It happens to be that it's not so simple to count gematrias when you're drunk. Doing math when you're drunk, I don't think for most people, I think doing math for a lot of people when they're not drunk is not so easy. So doing math when you're drunk is definitely not so easy. And there are other opinions, etc. as well. That's how you get around the Baruch Mordechai or Haman. That's a different opinions. What about the drinking itself? So take a look at the Rambam in source number 4. The Rambam says, Ketzad chovat suda zo. How do you fulfill the mitzvah of Sudas Purim? Shiyochal basar, eat meat, v'yitakin sudanaya k'fi hashetim sayado. You have to basically spend money on the Suda. Whatever you can afford, you spend money. It should be a nice Suda. V'shote yayin ad she'ishtakev v'yiradem b'shichros. You drink enough wine that you do what? You fall asleep while drinking. You fall asleep. Now the Rambam opens up a very interesting thing. Why is falling asleep so crucial? If the whole point of the idea is you don't know the difference between Arur Haman and Baruch Mordechai, guess what? When you're sleeping, you don't. So what is the Rambam saying? You don't need to get so drunk. All you have to do is what? Drink enough that what happens? You fall asleep. Every Purim I try to do this thing, it never works. I'm always busy. What does that mean? You drink a little bit, and trust me, right now, I don't need a drink to fall asleep. Let me put my head down on the pillow right now, I'll be out like a light. I'm tired. So what do? You just try, every Purim I try to drink a little bit, and then I just go to sleep. Now, it happens to be that the Rambam is saying that this is part of Sudas Purim, which means that the drinking should happen when? The drinking should happen there should be no drinking at night, and all the drinking, if there's any drinking, should happen when? It should happen only during the day, during the Suda. That's when drinking happens.
That doesn't make sense.
Why?
Because then he's saying fall asleep.
So fall asleep. So not off a little bit. Maybe bench a little bit beforehand. You started it beforehand and you bench. You're worried about the benching part.
The whole thing, why would they tell you to sleep away the day?
So not sleep away the day. Fall asleep a little bit. Take a little nap. Chop a little Dremel. 10 minutes do. If in 10 minutes, if you're sleeping, you won't know what?
What's the point?
You won't know the difference between what? Mordechai. And what is the Rambam doing in actuality? He's limiting the idea of drinking. Because you don't need so much. Naturally, you can fall asleep.
But
right?
I feel like when you're drunk and you fall asleep, you don't wake up after 10 minutes.
No. It depends how drunk you are. Right? The guy who falls asleep because he has a hangover, he sleeps the next morning. We'll talk about that guy in a second. But what? Yeah, you're dumb. Yeah, you go to sleep a little bit. You don't have to fall asleep for so long. Right? Take a look at source number 5.
Take a shot, set an alarm.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Well, not a shot, because if you notice, everybody keeps talking about only one thing to drink.
Wine.
And what's that one thing? Wine. Now, why are we drinking wine? Because the whole nace is Zeichel and Ace. The whole Purim story happened by different drinking parties, so therefore what do? So therefore we drink wine as a Zeicher to the nace that happened al Yidei wine. But it only happened al Yidei Yayin. That's what Chazal say. So it's not drinking vodka, and it's not drinking scotch, and it's not drinking bourbon, it's drinking wine specifically.
So then why do people drink so many other things?
We're going to talk about what people do shortly. People don't necessarily follow halacha on this one. They follow their heart. So take a look at the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch paskins just straight out like the Gemara. But the Ramah doesn't necessarily take that. You don't need to get so drunk. You drink a little bit more than you used to. Now, how much are you used to? Now, girls, for most regular people, how much are they used to? If you usually drink a cup of wine at Kiddush, how many cups of wine do you need to be more? 2 cups. Now, yes, are there people that tolerance basically 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 cups? I don't know. Yeah, sadly, the answer is yes. But for most normal people, you just drink a little bit more than you used to, and you're fine. And what does he say? And you go to sleep. The Ramah is paskening like the Rambam. Why? He's saying you just drink a little bit more than you used to, and then what? And after you drink a little bit more than you used to, so then you go to sleep. And what does he end with? Now this we say oftentimes in halacha. What do we say? Those people that do a lot, and those people who do a little, as long as their kavanah is what? L'shem shamayim. What does that mean? We have it with slichos. Slichos is very long for a lot of people. Do you have to say all of them? So Allah oftentimes says that what? Echad hamarbe ve'echad hamamit. You say a lot, you say a little, as long as what? Your kavanah is l'shem shamayim. Girls, can we say that everybody drinks on Purim, the kavanah is l'shem shamayim? No, for sure not. There are tons of people that use this as an excuse to get drunk. If it wasn't Purim, what would it be? Thursday night. If it wasn't Thursday night, it would be Saturday night. If it wasn't Saturday night, it would be Friday night, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, or whatever other night people drink. The idea that Ramah is putting in is that the whole thing has to be L'Shem Shamayim. What's L'Shem Shamayim? L'Shem Shamayim, L'Shem Zeichel Hanes. If you're not doing it for that reason, so then you should not be drinking. No. Now, in source number 7, the Biur Halacha explains exactly what we say. That what? Why are we doing something which seems like such a bad thing, getting drunk? And the answer is because it was such a neis gadol b'shtiyat yayin, right? So therefore what? So therefore we commemorate the neis. So let's just go through some of the various different opinions, right? The Rif and the Rush on the Gemara basically bring the language of the Gemara and basically seem that it's a chiyuv to drink on Purim, right? The Rif and the Rush seem to say that way. The Ra'avya, who's another one of the Rishonim, say that what? It's only like a chiyuv ba'alma. It's not ma'akev. It doesn't. If you don't do it, it doesn't mean that you didn't fulfill Sudas Purim. It's something that you can do, etc. But it's not what? It's part of Mishnah v'simcha, but it's not what? It's not something that's a chiyuv. Like some people take drinking on Purim like it's a mitzvah d'oraisa, and therefore they're machmir. They drink a lot because they want to be machmir. No, that's not what we're talking about. What? We have, what do you call it? The Rabbeinu Ephraim says the halacha is not that, the Rabbeinu Ephraim disagrees with everybody. He says there's no halacha that you have to drink. Oh, but doesn't the Gemara say what? So the Rabbeinu Ephraim says that what? That's why they brought the story. What does the story prove? That you should drink or you shouldn't drink?
Shouldn't.
So that's a machloket. According to half the opinions, they say you shouldn't drink. Why? Kam Rabba v'shachte l'Reb Zera. And what? Reb Zera the next year didn't do what? Didn't go back. So half the opinions say, you see from the story, why did the Gemara bring the story? The Gemara brought the story to tell you what? To tell you that you don't drink on Purim. The other opinions say that what? You do drink on Purim. How do you see that from the story? A, it was Tchiyat HaMeitim, and B, he asked him back the next year. And it wasn't like he was saying we're going to have a dry party. If we're going to have a dry party, what would Reb Zera do? It would come. The fact is, Reb Zera knew that Rabbi was going to drink. So therefore, some people say you do paskin like the Gemara. Rabbeinu Ephraim says you don't. Yeah.
Is the chiyuv, like according to the Russian, who said the first person was, also on women?
Oh, so that's an interesting question. It seems like the chiyuv should be in women, although there is a tznius factor which we'll talk about at the end. There's a little bit of a tznius factor in the end. You'll see a lot of the poskim say not to drink anyway. Okay? So what do you call it? The Sefer Eshkol says, no, The Sefer Eshkol says, we see that you do paskin like this story. The Orchos Chaim and the Kalbo Achronim basically say it's usher to get drunk. Now, why do they say it's usher to get drunk? They say it's usher to get drunk because if you violate an Aveira while you're drunk, because you're drunk, so then you didn't claim anything. What does that mean? According to the Shitas, and you see on the back of the page where there's stars, it says, like the Beis Yosef says, underline, but Purim sheishtakem shichros iser gomer bein lacha avera gdola mizo shu gorim legilu yarayos shvichas tamim kama avera zulatam. And it goes all the opinions with the stars in the back all say what? All say that it's usher to get drunk. Why is it usher to get drunk? Because you're going to do averas. Girls, according to the halacha, the way we paskin, if you miss a bracha achrona because you're drunk, you shouldn't have gotten drunk in the first place. Which means what? If a guy's drinking at the Purim Suda, but he's not going to bench, he's not going to say a bracha on his dessert, which is not part of the meal. He's going to say lashon hara. He's going to violate the gate, whatever he's going to do. If a guy, he's not going to mariv. According to most opinions, what? It's usher for him to get drunk. It's usher, not that it's just not, it's not recommended. It's usher. If you're going to violate a mitzvah because of your drinking, you're not allowed to get drunk. Girls, I don't want to ask the following question, but I'll ask the following question. How many people that get drunk on Purim? How many of them don't end up benching? How many of them end up saying lashon hara? How many of them end up saying things that they shouldn't to come out of their mouth? And therefore what? According to Allah, it was usher for them to get drunk in the beginning. I'll tell you a funny story. I remember where I had a Purim suit in my apartment. We had a minhag that my chavra, each guy that got married that year would do the Purim suit. So we got married. We were living in Teaneck in the apartments. And what happened? A guy, we had a Purim suit. It was very nice. A guy who wasn't part of Purim suit came to the Purim suit. He walked in. You could tell obviously that he was very wobbly. He walks into my I didn't even know him so well. He was just in the building. He walks into my bathroom. He stays there for a long time. We got a little nervous. What happened to him in the bathroom? Knock on the door. He comes out. What happened? Very interesting. Comes out and he leaves. Later that night, we look in the bathroom. He sat there sucking out the toothpaste from the toothpaste tube. That wouldn't be us. That would just be stupid. That would just be stupid. Okay. But let's say the guy now collapsed someplace and didn't damar. That would be us for him. And you see source again and again and again and again saying that what? If you're going to violate any single mitzvah, you're not allowed to get drunk. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, very charif. V'chein mish yodeh b'atzmo she'al yedei chein yilzalzel chas v'shalom be'ezeh mitzvah b'bracha b'tefillah ol she'ebo chas v'shalom l'kalo rosh. If you're going to be lightheaded, how many guys do you know that, not that you know, but how many guys in theory do you know that drink and become lightheaded? They're not in control of themselves. They what? Mutav shalol yishtaker v'chol ma'asav yilu l'shem shamayim. I wish they taught this in yeshivas to guys. Why? Because so many guys get drunk and it's mamish what? It's mamish achil Hashem. And you'll see it. I don't know. It's mamish achil Hashem. So I'll exactly. So I'll tell you what happened in...
The guy won't admit to himself.
I'll tell you what happened in yeshiva, and this is really the punchline why I'm doing this. We used to have in yeshiva, the Rosh Yeshiva used to give a shiur right before Purim of why it's usher to get drunk on Purim. That's what he used to do. Why it's usher to get drunk on Purim. He tells many, many stories of guys who did things awful, horrible, etc. He tells one story, a horrible story. He knew a guy that had a drinking problem. He went to yeshiva for the year. Kid Nebuch, an 18-year-old kid, had a drinking problem already. Guy went to Israel for the year. Okay, fine. I don't know what yeshiva he went to. The Rosh Yeshiva gets a call, not our yeshiva. He's in a different yeshiva. Gets a call, crying. The boy's crying on the phone. Why? Because he said to the Rosh Yeshiva he's not going to drink on Purim. He has a drinking problem. And the Rosh Yeshiva was putting down his foot that what? You have to drink. You have to drink. You have to make chaim mitzvah. You have to make. What kind of crazy? The Rosh Yeshiva says, what kind of crazy culture have you developed that what? Everybody has to get drunk. So he used to give a shiur basically why it's us to get drunk on Purim. Then I would come and I would give the Mussar Shmuz. And the Mussar Shmuz was titled, One Should Get Drunk on Purim. So the guys all were excited. Why? Not only were they getting a heter from me, but not only that, but it would be a good, you'd see sparks flying between the Rosh Yeshiva and the Mashgiach of the Yeshiva. It would be a good fight in the middle of the base medrash. So I start my thing and I say, one should get drunk on Purim. 1 in 1,000 should get drunk on Purim. 999 people should not get drunk on Purim. 1 in 1,000 should get drunk on Purim. And with this, I tried to explain to them what drinking on Purim was all about. And I'll explain it to you, and then you'll understand why it's only 1,999 should. Then maybe you'll understand girls, etc. Well, Chazal crazy. Drink on Purim, do something crazy. So here goes. The Megillah and all of Purim is all about uncovering things which are hidden. That's what the whole story is about. You uncover HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's hidden in the Megillah. The Jews uncovered the essence of their Judaism, even though it was buried deep within inside. They were assimilating, drinking from the Kalim of the Beis HaMikdash. The whole story, Esther uncovers who and what she should really become. She reveals herself. Haman is uncovered. The whole entire Purim story is uncovering what's hidden inside. And that's why Chazal say that Yom Kippur is Purim. My two favorite holidays are Yom Kippur and Purim. It's a bizarre thing. You would think that the holidays have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Yom Kippur is the most solemn, serious day you could possibly have in the year. People are scared. Even the rottenest guy is scared on Yom Kippur. Purim, you can't get crazier. I mean, just in the streets, it's going to be nuts. You're going to see crazy things going on. What's the relationship? And what's the Ikar? The Ikar day is Purim. Yom Kippur only gets to be like Purim. So here's what I think is the pshat. Yom Kippur's whole job is for you to dig deep down into yourself, figure out who and what you are, and do tshuva for what you are, what you've done wrong. Go back to who you really should be, who God created, what's your goal in life. Go back to the goal that God wanted you to do. That's Yom Kippur, correct? We've all experienced that Yom Kippur, where we dig deep to find ourselves. But that's Purim also, but Purim does it in a different way. Yom Kippur, you have to mamish dig deep. But you're always worried, what? Maybe I lied to myself. Maybe I didn't get deep enough. Maybe I didn't find stuff. Maybe I hid stuff from myself. You try as much as possible, and the avirah, the atmosphere of Yom Kippur does what? It for sure helps, right? But on Purim, you do it a totally different way. How do you do it on Purim? You drink wine. We know from Tehillim, Nechnas Yayin, Yatsa Sod. You drink, what happens? What happens when a person drinks? The secret comes out. Why? Because you totally lose control. If you drink, you lose control of yourself. What comes out when you lose control of yourself? Yourself. The purpose of the drinking on Purim was to do what? The purpose of the drinking on Purim was to find out who and what you are, to reveal the hidden. But there's a little catch, girls. And the catch is, you might not want what? You might not want it to come out. Now, if you've seen holy people drink, that's what you want to come out. If you haven't seen holy people drink, the other is not what you want to come out. Girls, I have seen people drink, and it's been an unbelievable spiritual thing. My Shana Bet Madrich in Shalvim, married guy in Kolo, got drunk. I remember walking around with him. I wanted to make sure he was okay. Walking around with him all Purim. He sat by every single American kid, pulled him down to the floor, and what did he do? He gave him a shmooze of why they have to make Aliyah. Why? Because his neshama was what? His neshama was everybody has to live in Eretz Yisrael. So what did he do when he got drunk? That's what came out. He sat by every single guy. It was amazing. I heard the same conversation over and over again. Sat down crying to the guy, make Aliyah. How can you not live in Eretz Yisrael? I've seen people get drunk. I had a Rebbe in Shalvin who got drunk on Purim. He was a Musarnik. He gave a Musar shmooze to himself. It was the charifest thing that I've ever heard in my life. He was talking only to himself. He didn't realize that 30 boys were sitting around him. He was talking to himself. If mamish, you sat there, you felt like the fire coming out of his mouth would singe your hair. That's who he was on the inside. I've seen people get drunk on Purim and cry over the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Sit bawling, crying over the Churban Beis HaMikdash. I had a boy once, a student, who tore Kriya. Why did he tear Kriya? He was so upset about the assimilation of Klal Yisrael that he was crying. He tore Kriya for Klal Yisrael. Because that's what his neshama was. It sounds strange, but nichnas yayin yatsa sod. I'm not saying the sod was great. I wouldn't say everybody should tear Kriya over Klal Yisrael. I don't think everybody should cry over the Churban Beis HaMikdash. I don't think everybody. But what happened? That's what's inside them. What's inside them is beauty. You see the neshama come out. Girls, every once in a while you have to see the beauty in your neshama. Why? Because it shows you what you could be. It shows you what you... Now, it shows you where you should strive to be. When you see that, you know what you really are. Everything else is false pretense. What you really are is that. Now, if the sod inside is holy, so it's beautiful. That's why 1 in 1,000. 999 should not drink. Because why? 999 are not ready for the insides to come outside. Why? Because they're not ready. 999 are not ready. The insides that they have are not there yet. And what comes out is Lashon Hara, and what comes out is throw up, and what comes out is wildness, and what comes out is all this craziness. That shouldn't come out. That you have to work on before you come out. 1 in 1,000, when you see it, they say of a very big Rav in Yerushalayim, that when he drank, you never during the year, you never ever heard him say anything Kabbalistic. When he drank on Purim, what happened? Every single Torah he said was all Kabbalah. That's what came out of his mouth. Because that's what was inside him, deep buried someplace. The idea of drinking on Purim was not that be crazy. It's anything but that. The idea of drinking on Purim was to be holy. It's just that 999 people can't be holy like that, and should not. They're not ready for it. That's why the yeshiva shouldn't do what they do. Because what happens is, that's what comes out. You're right. A Rosh Yeshiva, that beauty comes out. But for most guys, it doesn't come out. So you ask me about girls. So the answer is very simple. It's very difficult with girls. Why? There's a tznius issue. You don't know what's inside. Do you really want to let that come out? And let's say what's on the inside is what? Something not so good.
That's exactly something the guy.
Exactly. I would say the guy shouldn't, and I would say the girl shouldn't. The girl, I'm a little bit more worried, because some guy will take advantage of the girl.
But what
You know what I'm saying to you?
like in a school setting, like when there are
That you have to ask the psak of the school. Whatever the school paskins is whatever the school paskins. I think in an enclosed room, even that I'm nervous about. It's mamish so dangerous. If you've never experienced it, or if you haven't experienced it. Remember there was this YouTube of people, I told you this I think once, these people, a couple of years ago when Obama was running for election, they got so drunk, I think they were Zalis, Nadines, whatever they were someplace, they got so drunk, and somebody taped them. And they were cursing, and they were saying horrible things about Obama. It got onto YouTube, it went viral. Do you think any one of them thought that was going to come out of their mouth before they drank? No. Do you think anybody thought that their family's reputation, their reputation, the yeshiva's reputation would be destroyed? No. They shouldn't have drank. So with girls, I'm a little bit more, sorry for being old-fashioned, I'm a little bit more, and most guys, I would say most guys shouldn't drink. Most guys should not drink. What's inside is something you don't want to come out. Work on what's inside. Have a couple of Yom Kippurs beforehand. Do Yom Kippur correctly beforehand for 5 years. Then if you want, we'll talk about drinking. But if you're going to violate something, then everything has to be l'shem shamayim.
Yeah. On Yom Kippur, the point isn't that you'll dig deep and then not dig deep if it's a bad thing inside. You're digging deep to see if it's a bad thing. So why?
Because you're much more in control. When the bad comes out on Yom Kippur, it's by you. It's contained. But on Purim, it's not contained. It's going to blow the fuse. It's going to come out. I remember when I worked in Deal, these guys went to some Frum people for Purim Suda. The Frum people got drunk. Every year they did it. I'm not going to mention names or anything like that because we're on tape. But the reality is what? Every year they used to come back and tell me what the Lashon Hara they said about the people they drank. They said Lashon Hara about the high school. But what are you doing? That shouldn't be coming out. Do you understand? On Yom Kippur it wouldn't come out. you would find it and you would correct it. You wouldn't say it, but on Purim you don't have. So